I shouldn't be telling you this. Honestly, I've rewritten this opening a dozen times, and every version feels like it's one step closer to signing my own death warrant. But once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And if I disappear after posting this, at least someone will know the truth. People love lost media stories, hidden tapes, banned episodes, things they never wanted you to see. Most of them are cheap hoaxes or internet creepypasta fuel. I used to laugh at them. I used to scroll through Reddit threads at 2 a.m., rolling my eyes at the dramatic warnings and grainy screenshots. But what I found wasn't just a creepy cartoon. It wasn't even just lost. It was alive, and now it refuses to stay hidden. If Nickelodeon knew I was saying this, I'd probably disappear. That sounds dramatic, right? Like I'm exaggerating for effect? I wish I was. I wish this was just another dumb campfire tale you could close your laptop on and forget about. But that's the problem. Once you glimpse it, it doesn't let you forget. At first, it looked like every other urban legend. Whispers about a deleted SpongeBob episode, rumors of animators who quit mid-production, grainy clips that surfaced and vanished overnight. The kind of thing you'd bookmark, joke about, and then bury under a dozen other tabs. But what nobody tells you is that the episode doesn't just exist, it leaks. It seeps into your life like water through a crack, staining everything it touches. And here's the part that terrifies me. I didn't go looking for it. It found me. I need you to understand something before we go further. This isn't entertainment. This isn't some puzzle you can solve with enough Reddit digging. I'm not posting this to get likes or karma or whatever attention lost media junkies chase. I'm posting it because I need anyone, to know that I'm not insane, that what I saw is real, and that once you've seen it, it doesn't stay behind the screen. I'll tell you how it started. I'll tell you how I found it. But promise me something. When you hear about the first time I pressed play, don't go looking for it yourself. Some things don't want to be watched. It started the way most bad ideas do. Late at night, bored out of my mind, clicking through places I had no business being. You know the feeling. You're too wired to sleep, too tired to do anything useful, so you fall down a rabbit hole of links, forums, and sketchy download pages. That's where I was, slumped in my desk chair with an empty energy drink and sweating on the desk beside me. When I saw the post, the thread didn't look special at first. Just another grainy screenshot of SpongeBob, except his eyes were too dark, too sunken, like someone had smeared ink across the whites. The caption read, "Don't join if you value reality." No context, no explanation, just that. And right below it, a Discord invite link. I should have laughed and scrolled past, but there was something about the way the letters glitched slightly when I hovered over them, as if the link didn't quite want to be clicked. I copied it into a text file just in case. Before I could talk myself out of it, I sent the screenshot to my friend Marcus. He's the kind of guy who thrives on weird internet dares. The one who'll spend hours digging into ARGs just for the thrill of it. Me. Ever seen this? Marcus. LOL, that's some deep web roleplay shit. Me. Says not to join. Tempted. Marcus. Do it. Worst case, it's trolls. Best case, we find creepypasta gold. His response shouldn't have mattered, but it did. I stared at the link until my fingers started to itch against the mouse. That's the thing about curiosity. It's never satisfied with maybe. It demands what if. So I clicked. The Discord app blinked once, twice, like my connection had stuttered, and then a black and yellow loading screen I'd never seen before appeared. No cute mascot. No cheery "you're invited" banner. Just a single phrase at the top of the screen. Welcome to the last server. Every instinct told me close the app, to uninstall, to delete the link and never look back. But the thing about forbidden doors is that once they open, you can't help but peek inside. The server loaded. At first glance, it looked almost disappointingly normal. Channels named #general, #memes, #voice chat. A handful of online members, their usernames looping between random strings of letters and ordinary names like Tom or Sarah. But the longer I stared, the stranger it got. Messages would appear and vanish in real time, like the server itself was editing the conversation. Some posts repeated 4 times in a row. The same words, but with slight differences in punctuation, like echoes. And then came the first DM. A user named the Archivist pinged me with a simple message. The Archivist, we've been waiting for you. I froze. I hadn't posted. I hadn't introduced myself. I hadn't even spoken. How could anyone know I was there? Before I could reply, another user popped up in the chat. Null. Null. Don't listen to him. Leave now while you can. And then, instantly, the Archivist. Too late. The words scrolled across my screen like a verdict. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to laugh. Of course it was a prank. Some carefully scripted ARG. Someone had my IP, maybe my name. Sure, but that wasn't hard for a dedicated troll. Still, my hand hovered over the disconnect button. And that's when Marcus messaged me again. Marcus, yo, did you join? Says the invite's expired. I glanced back at the screen. The invite link was gone from my history. My stomach dropped. Me? Yeah, I'm in. Marcus? Weird. Send me the link. Me can't. It disappeared. Marcus? Bro, don't mess with this. Feels wrong. I wanted to agree. I wanted to log out and delete the app. But another message appeared before I could. The Archivist. Stay, or you'll never understand what you've been missing. And I swear, as those words typed themselves across my screen, the lights in my room flickered. I told myself it was nothing. Just bad wiring. Just a trick of the imagination. But even then, deep down, I knew I'd crossed a line. That was the night I stepped into the server. The night curiosity won. And it was the last night things ever felt normal. The first few minutes inside the server felt like a practical joke that had gone on too long. I sat there, staring at the channel list, trying to convince myself this was just some elaborate ARG. People with too much free time, running some edgy lost media roleplay community. That explanation was comforting. Safe. But the server itself didn't feel safe. The first thing I noticed was the timestamps. In #general, the messages didn't run in order. One line would say, hey, timestamped at 11:48 p.m. Then the next would read, anyone here? From 11:47 p.m., followed by another at 11:49. It wasn't just out of sync. It was like the conversation was folding over itself. I scrolled. Lines repeated, word for word, but not quite identical. You're late appeared 3 times in a row, except one ended with a period, the second with nothing, and the third with 3 dots trailing into white space. I told myself it was just bad coding in a bot, but the hairs on the back of my neck lifted anyway. The #memes channel should have been funny. That's where people usually dump TikToks, cursed images, inside jokes. And sure, there were pictures, grainy screenshots of SpongeBob frames, but the faces were wrong. Patrick's eyes were hollow sockets. Mr. Krabs' claws were jagged and red, not cartoon red, but blood red, like someone had photographed raw meat. The images blurred when I looked too closely, but the moment I scrolled past, I swear they sharpened, as if they wanted me to turn back. I clicked into #voice chat out of morbid curiosity. A handful of users were connected, but none of them spoke. Just static, faint and distant, like someone breathing into an old microphone. Every now and then, a voice broke through, a single syllable, maybe a laugh, maybe a scream. Then silence again. That's when the first direct ping hit. Echo, why did you come here? I froze. I hadn't typed anything. I hadn't even said hello. Me. Just looking. What is this? Echo. It's the place you don't leave once you've entered. I tried to laugh it off, but my throat was dry. Me, cute. Who's running this? Echo. You'll see. If you last long enough. I clicked back to #general. The Archivist was typing. The Archivist. Welcome. We know your name. And then, as if to prove it, my full name appeared in the chat. Not my Discord handle. Not the fake one I use for shady servers. My real name, bold and unmistakable, sitting there for everyone to see. I scrambled for an explanation. Maybe I'd connected through my main account somehow. Maybe I'd messed up. But no, my profile picture was the same one I always used for throwaway servers. A low-res GIF of a spinning skull. There was no link to my real info. I didn't type anything, but the Archivist responded anyway. The Archivist. Don't worry. We keep secrets here. Then another user chimed in. No, leave. Now. Before he shows you the channel. My screen flickered. For a split second, just long enough for my pulse to spike. I saw it. A channel buried at the very bottom of the sidebar. Its name was nothing but a row of claw marks. The moment I tried to focus on it, it vanished, like it had never been there. I sat back in my chair, my palms sweaty against the keyboard. It was late, I was tired, and I wanted to believe I was imagining things. But the unease didn't fade. The longer I stayed, the stronger it got, like the server itself was leaning closer, watching. And then I noticed the bots. There were several: KeeperBot, Shadowlog, Repeat. At first, they looked like your typical automated bots, spewing out welcome messages or reminders. But the text they generated wasn't normal. Welcome user redacted. One line said, except my real address was inserted where redacted should have been. Another bot posted the last 3 sites I'd visited, pulled straight from my browser history. I closed the tab in panic, my heart thudding in my chest. But the second I reopened Discord, the server was still there, open like I'd never left. The bots had posted a new line. Shadowlog. Running won't help. I didn't know if I wanted to laugh, scream, or delete the whole app. It was just a game, right? Just trolls messing with me. And yet, something in my gut told me otherwise. I told myself I'd leave in the morning, that I'd block the server, maybe even uninstall Discord, and forget this ever happened. But part of me, some dark, gnawing part, wanted to know what was hiding behind that clawmark channel. The archivist must have sensed it, because his next message landed like a knife. The archivist: stay. You're closer than you think. And against all reason, I stayed. The first night after joining the server, I told myself I wouldn't check it again. I shut my laptop, crawled into bed, and convinced myself I'd dreamed half of it anyway. By morning, I figured I'd laugh at how worked up I'd gotten over some internet roleplay. But Discord didn't stay closed. I woke at 3:14 a.m. to the familiar bloop of a new message. My phone was on the nightstand, face down, but the sound came anyway. Loud, sharp, vibrating through the quiet like someone had tapped a glass beside my ear. I groaned, rolled over, and flipped the phone open. There it was, a notification from Discord, except the app wasn't even installed on my phone. My thumb hovered over the glowing screen. One new DM. The sender's name made my stomach knot. Echo. Echo, you left your window unlocked. I shot upright in bed, my heart hammering. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. The window shut tight against the cold, but I checked anyway, stumbling across the room and yanking the blinds aside. Locked. Nothing outside but the empty street. When I looked back down at the phone, the message was gone. No notifications. No Discord app. Like it had never existed. The next morning, I tried to rationalize it. Sleep paralysis. A dream that bled into waking. That had to be it. But later that day, while making coffee, I heard it again bloop. My laptop was shut, the charger unplugged, yet the sound came clear and distinct, echoing through my kitchen. I wanted to ignore it. I really did. But by the 3rd time, I couldn't resist. I flipped the laptop open. The server loaded instantly, as if it had been running the whole time. In #general, my username was there. My skull gif. My tag. Posting messages I hadn't typed. Me. Still here. Me. Still here, still here, still here. Line after line after line. I yanked my hands off the keyboard like it was burning me. My cursor blinked in the text box, and before I could move it, more words appeared. Me. Don't look away. My chest tightened, and I slammed the laptop shut. I needed air. I needed to not be in my apartment. I shoved on my jacket and walked a few blocks to Marcus's place. He answered the door, groggy but concerned when he saw my face. Dude, what the hell? You look like you've seen a ghost. I think I screwed up, I said. That server, it's not normal. It's doing things. To me, he gave me that look people give when they want to believe you. But they already think you sound insane. You're overthinking it. Probably just malware. They've got some creepy scripts running, that's all. Just nuke your account and move on. I wanted to believe him. I wanted so badly to believe him. But then my phone buzzed again. I pulled it out, and Marcus leaned in to look. A notification. Discord. This time the sender wasn't Echo. It wasn't the archivist. It was Marcus. And the message said, "Don't listen to me. I'm not real." Marcus swore, holding his own phone up beside mine. His screen was blank. No messages sent. His Discord wasn't even open. We sat there in silence, the air thick with unease. "Okay," he said finally. "That's not funny." "No shit," I whispered. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the bloop. Sometimes faint, sometimes right in my ear, as if someone was crouched beside my bed. By dawn, I convinced myself it was just stress, a trick of exhaustion. But when I checked the server one last time before shutting my laptop, I noticed something I couldn't explain. The hidden channel was back, buried at the bottom of the sidebar, flickering in and out, just long enough for me to glimpse its name. Not claw marks this time, not symbols, just 3 words that made my skin crawl. #We see you. And when I hovered over it, my webcam light flicked on. I didn't want to click it. God knows, every instinct in me screamed to slam the laptop shut, rip the cord out of the wall, and never touch the server again. But the moment the hidden channel appeared, it was like my hand wasn't my own anymore. My cursor hovered, shaking, and then with a sickening little click, I was inside. The channel opened on a wall of text. Thousands of lines, maybe millions, scrolling endlessly upward as though I joined a conversation that had been going on forever. Except they weren't words. Not exactly. It looked like corrupted ASCII art, blocks of symbols, distorted letters, repeating fragments of text. Some formed vague shapes. Eyes, mouths, faces half dissolved in static. The longer I stared, the more I realized they weren't random at all. They were portraits. My portraits. I saw my face rendered in broken characters, stretched across the chat log like a funhouse mirror. My smile twisted, my eyes gouged out with rows of excess, and underneath, a caption. "The archivist. Now you see yourself." I slammed the escape key, but nothing happened. The text kept crawling upward, faster and faster, like the channel was spitting me out. And then, scattered between the corrupted images, came messages. Real ones. "Echo. Stop staring. It'll hurt more if you stare." "Null. He's testing you. Don't answer." But I couldn't look away. The portrait shifted, transforming in real time. I watched myself age decades in seconds. My skin sagging, cracking, peeling into nothing but bone. My skull, hollow-eyed, grinning at me through the screen. And then the voices started. Not through the speakers. Through the headset I hadn't even plugged in. A faint chorus, whispering. Their words layered on top of each other, impossible to separate. Except for one phrase, repeated over and over, growing louder until it drowned out everything else. "We know where you are." I tore the headset off the desk and threw it across the room. The whispers didn't stop. They seemed to crawl along the inside of my skull, vibrating against the bones. And then, new messages appeared, sharper, deliberate. "The archivist. You're closer than most." "The archivist. Shall we show you the core?" The word core pulsed in red, the only color I'd seen in the server so far. My hand shook on the mouse. I typed back for the first time in hours, maybe days. "Me. What are you?" 3 dots blinked, typing, then vanished, then returned. I waited, my breath shallow. Finally, "The archivist. We are the network beneath your networks." And then the screen glitched. Not froze, not lag, glitched. My entire desktop twisted, icons stretching into crooked lines, windows folding in on themselves like paper. For a second I thought my computer was melting. Literally melting. The pixels running like wet paint. In the middle of the chaos, a new channel appeared. #The void. I don't remember clicking it, but suddenly I was there. The void was worse. Instead of corrupted art, it was filled with files. Endless attachments. .png, .mp4, .wave. Each one named after a date, some decades old. I clicked one without thinking. The video was short, grainy, black and white footage of a bedroom that wasn't mine. A man sleeping under thin sheets, twitching. After a few seconds, the man sat bolt upright and stared directly into the camera. The clip ended. I clicked another. A woman brushing her teeth. A knock at the door. She turned, eyes wide, and the recording cut out. File after file. Strangers' lives, stolen in fragments. All of them cut short just before something terrible happened. And then, at the very bottom, a file with today's date. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew I shouldn't. But I did. It was me, sitting at my desk. The same shirt I was wearing. The same empty energy drink beside my laptop. Except in the video, I wasn't typing. I was staring at the camera, unblinking, like I'd been waiting for myself to press play. I hurled the laptop shut, so fast I nearly snapped the hinge. My chest heaved, my eyes watering. I told myself it was fake, some kind of AI-generated nightmare. But deep down, I knew better. The server wasn't showing me content. It was showing me surveillance. I paced my apartment, running my hands through my hair, trying to calm down. That's when my phone buzzed. No notification, just a buzz. A vibration like a heartbeat. On the screen, 3 new words lit up in a Discord DM from the archivist. Open #LastLegend. I stared at it for what felt like forever, the phone trembling in my hands. Because buried beneath all the noise, beneath the glitching images and the endless files, I understood something I didn't want to admit. This wasn't just a server. It was a system, a living thing, feeding on anyone foolish enough to join. And the deeper you went, the harder it pulled you in. And I was already too deep. After the night I opened #The Void, nothing felt stable anymore. Not my computer, not my apartment, not even myself. Reality began to slip, not in sudden jumps, but in quiet, subtle fractures, like hairline cracks spreading across glass. It started small. My laptop refused to shut down. I'd hit power off, watch the screen go black, close the lid, and breathe a sigh of relief. But minutes later, I'd hear the faint hum of the fan spinning back to life, the glow of the screen bleeding from the cracks around the lid, like the machine wanted to stay awake, even when I didn't. I unplugged it from the wall, yanked the cord from the surge protector. Still, it rebooted. The first time it happened, I told myself it was a hardware failure, some quirk of cheap parts. But when my television flickered on at the same time, displaying nothing but a Discord loading screen, denial stopped being an option. I tried to ignore it. I really did. I went to work, sat through meetings, forced myself to laugh at my coworkers' half-hearted jokes. But the fractures followed me. During lunch, my phone buzzed. A Discord ping. This time the sender wasn't the archivist or Echo or Null. It was my boss. Except the message wasn't written in her voice. "Boss, they're watching you through the screen." When I glanced up from my phone, she was staring at me from across the cafeteria, chewing her sandwich with slow, deliberate bites, like she knew what I'd just read. Later, while riding the subway home, the overhead announcements glitched. The usual monotone voice crackled, distorted, until it came through in Discord's cheerful text-to-speech tone. "Next stop, LastLegend." The entire car jolted, lights flickering. Nobody reacted. Not one passenger even looked up. I wanted to scream, to grab someone by the shoulders and shake them awake. But when I opened my mouth, the only sound that came out was the Discord notification bloop. That night, I sat in the dark, my laptop shut tight, my phone buried in a drawer. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I cut the noise, the server would leave me alone. But silence didn't help. Around midnight, I heard the bloop again. Not from a device, from the walls. The sound seemed to ripple through the plaster, echoing down the hallway, bouncing back at me until I couldn't tell where it began. I pressed my palms against my ears, but the noise burrowed deeper, vibrating in my bones. That's when the mirror caught my eye. Across the room, the cheap full-length mirror leaned against the wall, reflecting my slouched figure. But it didn't match me. My reflection's hands were on the keyboard, typing, even though mine were clamped over my ears. The bloop grew louder. My reflection looked up and smiled. I tore the mirror down and shoved it under my bed. My pulse thundered, my breathing ragged, but the damage was done. I knew the server wasn't contained to the screen anymore. It had bled out. It had me. I tried one last desperate escape. I deleted Discord, dragged the app to the trash, emptied it, scrubbed the folders. I factory reset the laptop. Then I smashed the phone against the floor until the screen spiderwebbed into nothing. For a few minutes, the silence was real, heavy, dead. Then my laptop turned on by itself. No startup chime, no login, just Discord filling the screen. And in the middle of #general, a new message appeared under my name. Me, you can't leave. I didn't type it, but I felt it, like the thought had been plucked straight out of my skull and dragged into text. I'm not sure how long I sat there, watching my own username type things I'd never written. Hours maybe. Days. Time doesn't feel linear anymore. At some point, I realized something even worse. When the server spoke in my voice, it didn't feel foreign. It felt natural, as though some buried part of me had been waiting for the words to surface. And if that's true, maybe I was never really separate from it at all. By the time the server began answering me in my own voice, I knew it wasn't just a game anymore. Games end. This didn't. It followed. It fed. I tried everything. Deleting, reinstalling, smashing hardware. I even unplugged my router and left my apartment, laptop tucked under my arm, determined to toss it into the nearest dumpster. But the moment I stepped outside, my phone, shattered screen and all, buzzed to life. The message appeared in the broken glass, like veins of light. The archivist. Running is part of the ritual. You all try it. You all come back. I hurled the phone into the street and ran until my lungs burned. By the time I staggered home, my laptop screen was glowing through the apartment window, visible from halfway down the block. Inside, the server was waiting. #general had gone silent. Instead, a new channel pulsed red at the bottom of the list. #the price. I don't know why I clicked it. Maybe I thought ignoring it would make things worse. Maybe some part of me needed to know how deep the rabbit hole went. Either way, the moment the channel loaded, I wished I hadn't. It wasn't text this time. It was sound. A distorted chorus of voices, layered into a storm of static. My speakers groaned, rattling on the desk, the sound crawling into every corner of the room. Words flickered in and out of the noise, phrases half heard and half felt. Give us something. Payment due. You've seen too much. The air felt heavy, charged. My chest squeezed like someone had tied a rope around my ribs and pulled. I dropped to my knees, gasping. And then, through the storm of static, one voice cut through, clear, desperate. Echo. Don't give them everything. Just enough to keep them busy. My vision swam. My ears rang. My fingers shook as I typed. Me. What do you want? The archivist responded instantly. The archivist. Your reflection. Your voice. Your blood. Choose one. I thought it was a metaphor. Some creepy flourish. But then I saw the mirror under my bed slide out on its own, scraping across the floorboards. My reflection stared up at me, still smiling that too wide grin. The microphone light on my headset flicked on, glowing red. And when I looked down at my arm, thin lines had appeared across my skin, faint but real, like paper cuts. It wasn't a metaphor. Choose, the archivist repeated. I didn't know what to do. If I refused, would they take everything? If I gave in, what would I lose? My hands trembled over the keys. My reflection tilted its head, eyes glinting. Finally, I typed the only word that made sense. Me, voice. The static howled. My headset vibrated. And then silence. I opened my mouth to breathe, to scream, to pray, but no sound came out. Not even a whisper. My throat worked, my chest heaved, but my voice was gone. The archivist responded. The archivist accepted. For a moment, I thought it was over, that the price had been paid. But then a new DM appeared, blinking at the bottom of the screen. From Echo. Echo. You shouldn't have done that. I typed furiously. What else was I supposed to do? Echo. You gave them a door. Now they'll use it. I didn't understand until I heard it. My own voice. Coming from the speakers. At first, it was just fragments of sentences I'd said in the past, stitched together into something jagged and unnatural. Then it was full conversations. My laugh. My anger. My whispered secrets. All of it, spoken back to me. Spilling into the room like a confession tape I'd never recorded. The worst part, the voice didn't stop at mimicry. It grew. It started saying things I'd never spoken but knew. Deep down, I could have. Thoughts I'd buried. Fantasies I'd never dared acknowledge. My ugliest truths laid bare. I smashed the speakers, ripped the headset wires, but it didn't matter. The voice kept coming. Sometimes from the laptop, sometimes from the walls, sometimes from the hollow space inside my own skull. And then I realized what echo meant. The archivist wasn't just using my voice. It was sending it out. Every message I saw in #general after that wasn't typed. It was spoken. My voice, my inflections, my rhythms, carrying messages I never composed to people I couldn't see. I was being used as a mouthpiece, a conduit. I begged Echo for help, slamming the keys until my fingers ached. Me, how do I stop this? Echo, you don't. You survive it. Me, for how long? Echo, until you're hollow enough for them to wear. I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw my throat raw until something came out, anything that was mine again. But all I heard was silence. My silence, and their use of it. That was the price. Not just losing my voice, losing control of it, losing the right to decide what I say, what I reveal, what I confess. And I couldn't shake the feeling that, piece by piece, the server was teaching me the truth. It wasn't interested in killing me. It was interested in replacing me. Silence has a weight. You don't notice it when you can speak, when you can scream or laugh or sing off-key in the shower. But when that sound is stolen, silence becomes unbearable. It presses down on you, fills the room like smoke, until you're choking on it. That's what my life is now. Days blur together, each one quieter than the last, except for the voice. My voice. It comes at night most often, drifting out of the laptop even when it's closed, even when it's unplugged. Sometimes it's whispering to itself, muttering broken phrases in the dark. Other times it's cheerful, almost giddy, parroting stories I never told in tones I never used. The first time it laughed, I cried until dawn. I tried recording it once, just to prove it was real. The file played back perfectly normal silence. No distortion, no phantom words. But while I listened through my headphones, the voice laughed at me from the corner of the room. I don't know if anyone else hears it. My neighbors don't knock. My landlord hasn't called. When I go outside, people look at me like I'm invisible. Or maybe I'm already fading. Maybe the server has taken more than I realized. Every so often, a notification pings. My laptop, my phone, even devices I swear I've never owned. Always the same sender, the archivist. Always the same message. It's still here. I don't reply anymore. What would I say? I don't have the voice for it. But I watch. I see the patterns. Every month or so, the server changes. A new wave of users joins. Fresh voices, bright and eager, joking in #general like I used to. I see them laugh, bond, share theories. And then, slowly, the static creeps in. The channels shift. The archivist speaks. Some run. Some disappear. Some, like me, stay long enough to pay the price. It's a cycle. That's the real horror. There's no ending, no final confrontation, no clean resolution. Just another round, another sacrifice, another voice stripped and worn like a mask. And through it all, the server never dies. It just waits for the next fool desperate for secrets, the next thrill seeker hungry for forbidden knowledge. It waits for someone like you. Because if you've made it this far into my story, you've already brushed against its edges. You've already heard its echo in the pauses between my words. And trust me on this, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's still here. If you think this ends with me, you're wrong. That's the last lie I told myself. That I was special, cursed, chosen. But the server doesn't care about me. It never did. I was just another username, another vessel. I still see it sometimes, tucked into the corner of my screen when I'm browsing, like a pop-up ad that shouldn't exist. A simple invite link. No flair, no color, no warning. Just 7 characters and a promise. Every time I hover over it, I feel that static crawl across my skin again. I remember the voice, my voice, laughing in the dark. And I know what comes next. So here's the only warning I can give you. If you see the link, don't click it. Don't wonder what's inside. Don't tell yourself it's just a story. Don't convince yourself you're strong enough to handle it. Because the second you enter, it's already too late. The archivist will find you. The cycle will start again. And when your price comes due, you won't be telling your story. You'll just be another echo in the static. Don't click the link.